Welcome back to the channel, Bridging the Gap, Student to Engineer, where STEM professionals provide advice to students. Today we're going to be looking at the University of Michigan. This will be a school deep dive, and we'll be looking at the student outcome data as well as intern and co-op data. Okay, to begin our analysis of the University of Michigan engineering data, what we've done is we've gone to their website. Something to note about University of Michigan is that each of the schools have their data separately, so it's a little bit hard to find. I will provide this link up top in the comments for this video so that you can get to it if something that we talk about here piques your interest and you want to go look at it a little bit more. Okay, so this data set is a Tableau report that's dynamic here at the bottom, but in the title you can see it's post-grad and then intern and co-op employment data. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through the post-graduation data first and then go into intern and co-op data. I will also scroll down here to the bottom to just talk a little bit about their methodology. I'll skip to number 4 first. So career outcomes, typically what we say is we want positive student outcomes, and that is a total of the employed students, those continuing their education, and then other. University of Michigan nicely defines other, where some other schools don't, but you can see it's things like military service, volunteer activities, those kind of things. What we are trying to get away from is a large number on the seeking employment. So for those students that do not have a job or have not started grad school 6 months after graduation, that's what we want to avoid. Okay, and then also they talk a lot about, or they mention here that they don't include data from outside the United States. That is an interesting little tidbit because some schools will let you know that they have, some grads and some interns with jobs outside of the U.S., and some schools are actually helping students get interns and co-ops outside of the U.S. As a form of study abroad, but you're working instead. So it looks like Michigan either doesn't have that or doesn't talk about it. So let's get into the data. All right, so first we're going to start with career outcomes. And what I've done is I've filtered for bachelor's degrees, and this is for the School of Engineering, which includes computer science and computer engineering, and so that's something to note as we move through. And on this one, I've kept the all of the years of data that are available just so we can see what the trends are. If we are looking at wanting to avoid this seeking number, what it looks like is that graduates are pretty successful. The rate of students having a positive outcome after graduating from the school in 2018 and 19 and then 21 and 22 was, around the 4% rate. Not having a positive outcome, so that's 96% likelihood that when you graduate you will be able to get a job or continue your education. I skipped 2020 just because that's, I think, a pandemic anomaly. You will see that a little bit in some of the upcoming data, that some of it shifts during that year only and then goes back to what it was before. So really good rates here. I think anything that you can do, that you can invest in, that has a 96% certainty of a positive outcome is a really good thing. And then another thing to note is that the percent of students continuing their education is about 30%. That is, a little bit high for a school that's focusing on providing practicing engineers, but not a horrible number, not a good number. It's just a number. But if you go there, you can expect about 30% of your graduating class to be moving on to grad school, and about 65% moving into the workforce immediately. So either way you go, you'll be surrounded by people who are doing the same thing as you, or looking at the same options. Okay, and then their employer hires. So this is where some of the numbers go wonky in 2020. But if you look at the employers that hire from University of Michigan, it's a lot of known names, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft being those top ones. Amazon is listed several times here under different names. They definitely combine to be the largest employer of graduates from this school. But University of Michigan, being in Michigan, has a lot of hires from Detroit. So you'll see General Motors, Ford, those types of companies are also snatching up a lot of graduates. And then there's some other companies like Procter and Gamble, SpaceX, that are, in different industries than these other ones that we've talked about. A good way of just looking at this and saying, okay, if I really wanted to go work for SpaceX or Tesla or someone that I know, Boeing, um, are they someone that's going to be recruiting on campus? So looking at this data, I'd say absolutely, these first 10 companies are going to be there hiring grads and looking for people. So that's a really positive thing. There's some schools we've looked at where all of these numbers are really small, and that kind of indicates that there's not companies that are going there to get a lot of graduates. Okay, and then what you can do if you are interested, and this is where getting the link can be good for you, is if you know that you are looking at a specific major, maybe you want to do chemical engineering, or you're looking at what kind of companies hire for chemical engineering, you can go in here and filter for that and see that those top companies, a lot of them fall off. But you've got Procter and Gamble, um, a winery, General Mills. They do have a lot of smaller numbers over here, but there are companies out there that definitely recruit from University of Michigan for this. Also, one of the reasons I left the years is you can tell Procter and Gamble's pretty consistent. Every year they're hiring people, but some of these other ones, they're not consistent. So it may be that they don't go to the school. Maybe they just happen to have a connection with a student, or the student applied. But for those that have hires every single year, you can be pretty certain that those companies are hiring at the school. So then we come to the post-grad information by location. So what I really like to look at, especially for public schools, is where do their grads go? You can consider a school to be a regional school if the graduates stay in the area of the states around. And that's just indicating that the school is not well known farther out, or that if you do go to that school and you want to move farther away, that you won't be surrounded by people that went to your school. So there's a little bit of nuances to that. Some people don't mind at all. But if you are wanting to have a easier time getting to places, this is definitely something to look at. So for Michigan, this is just for academic year 2022, 265 students who graduated from the School of Engineering stayed in Michigan. So I'm just going to use the number of graduates right now as we compare states. So 265, and then if we go to California, that's 240. That is a significant number of students from the University of Michigan that are going elsewhere. So indicating that the school is well known and appreciated by places that are not just in the surrounding states or the same states. So if we look at Washington, that number is 145. Texas kind of drops off, but if we go to New York, we're still at 161. So there are a lot of graduates from University of Michigan that are going other places. They're able to be mobile. They're well known and well recognized in other states, which is a really positive thing. So what I want to point out, though, is as we go to the salary information, the salary reported for those staying in Michigan is about $81,000. But if we go to California, that jumps up to 124, Washington 122, Texas 97. All of these numbers are pretty significantly above what the average salary is in Michigan. So some of that can be attributed to, cost of living in some places, but you can tell that, some places that are not known for high cost of living, like Wisconsin, 110,000. So just something to consider if you are from Michigan, you want to go to University of Michigan, you want to stay local, it might be worth spending a little bit of time looking outside of the state and seeing what you can get elsewhere. All right, and then we're going to skip intern salary by state and go to full-time salary by industry. Okay, again, a lot of information. While you can use this for salary, I think that the most useful thing immediately is to really understand that if you look at what major you're choosing, there are a lot of options for industries. So an aerospace engineer, that is designed to support the aerospace industry. But if you look at the number of other industries that have hired from University of Michigan aerospace engineers, there are a lot. Now, it does drop off after that aerospace, but still, there are a lot of opportunities. And I think this really points to, if you don't get into the specific engineering you're looking at, or maybe you are looking at an engineering that's not offered at a school that that you can afford or whatever, this is really demonstrating that you can go into a lot of different things. Chemical, this past year, the highest was healthcare, but food and beverage, there's a lot of different things that you can go into with a chemical degree, for example. One of the things that stands out is in civil, they call this thing civil and construction. Pretty much everyone goes into that, or consulting. So that's a much narrower field because it's training you to do one specific thing. But anyway, I will scroll through this so you can see what the different numbers are. I have filtered this for greatest to least by major on the 2022. And not surprisingly, computer science is going into the computer science field, but again, financials, retailers, a lot of different industries still hiring from these majors. I'll just continue to scroll a little bit so you can see what these are. Industrial and operational engineering under consulting, that's an interesting one. Industrial is a lot about improving processes, so it makes sense that a lot of people would go into consulting. Okay, but what you'll also notice as we're scrolling through here is the same industries are poking up over and over again. Automobiles, aerospace and defense, healthcare, a lot of them are just coming up over and over and over again, and really indicating that it's okay to do a different kind of major if that's where you are. So then let's go over to the salaries. I have, again, left the years on here so you can see what the trend is. And you'll also notice that a number of these don't have data for 2020. That just indicates that the graduates from University of Michigan with an aerospace engineering degree didn't necessarily go into aerospace and defense in numbers. If there were fewer than 4 data points, they excluded it. So I think you can just say, that was a pandemic thing and people were shifting in different places. All right, so again, lots of different industries. Pay is somewhat tied to what your major is, at least initially. You can always move up and move into much better paying jobs, regardless of what your major is. But it looks like getting a bachelor's in computer science or computer engineering or data science and going into financials is probably a really good bet based on the data here. 2021, going into financials with a degree in data science, you're looking at 137, 150 right off the bat, which is pretty impressive. Now, one thing to consider on these salaries is that it's a supply and demand issue. So you never know what the supply and demand will be when you graduate. But if you're just looking at going into something right now and there's not a million programs with something like data science or something that you're interested in, then you can be pretty well assured that you're going to be getting a pretty healthy salary offer when you graduate. Okay, so we've reached the end of the graduate information. I'm going to go back and focus on the interns and co-ops. So we're going to just do some filters here and look at what kind of experiences students get while they're in school. So again, some of the same companies are appearing and some have dropped off significantly, some have moved up. You'll see Tesla has a pretty healthy number of interns from University of Michigan. Um, just repeating again that the larger these numbers, the more recruiting is going on at the school, and the stronger the relationship is between these companies and the school, which is really good. It makes your life as a student a lot easier because they're going to be coming to you and trying to recruit you, which is excellent. And then we come back to intern salary. So again, I left the 5 years so you could see there's a little bit of up and down. That reflects actually the postgraduate annual salary. But what we see is that University of Michigan interns and co-ops are actually making a pretty healthy salary. If you divide this 4680, if you multiply that into an annual salary and then divide it into hourly, you're getting about $27, which is a pretty healthy number. That is higher than I've seen at some other schools, and definitely something that you can consider when you're looking at the price of a school. You want to do as many internships as you can, or co-ops, but not only for the experience, but for the money. If you're able to pay, you know, $10, $15, $20,000 a year by working over the summer or even through the school year in a co-op, that is an excellent way to pay yourself through school. So I have made a video on whether or not you should intern. I'll provide the link here. And then I keep saying intern and or co-op. The data here talks about intern and or co-op. I'm going to be making a video about that. So subscribe so you can get that information when it comes out. But good numbers from University of Michigan for their student work practice results and salaries. Okay, and then we're going to go to the state data for interns. Okay, again, so we saw in the full-time graduate data that University of Michigan graduates are in demand everywhere, in the US at least. And so we see pretty similar things with the intern data. So in 2022, we had 206 staying in Michigan for interns, 120 going to California, 67 for Washington, New York was 51, and then lots and lots and lots of different states with interns or co-ops going to those places. And if you multiply these out, they're pretty healthy numbers. I mean, you could be in Washington State making $8,800 a month. That's pretty significant when you calculate out that for 2 or 3 months of the summer, or even longer if you're doing a co-op. That could pretty quickly pay for some tuition and room and board and those kind of things. That's it for the review of the University of Michigan Engineering Student Outcomes. Thank you for listening this far. If you have and you found this useful, please comment, like the video, subscribe to get the next ones, and let me know what other schools you're interested in looking at. Have a great day.